Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you another video. All right, so I've had a night to sleep on the Lakers Jazz game where Dalton Connect went for 9 threes, tied the rookie record, and um, our team uh, barely beat the Jazz by 6 points after being up by 25 while all that was going on. I was angry last night. Not as angry this morning. Nothing's changed. I just cooled off, and I'm ready to think about other things now. The conversation I was just listening to on Lakers Lounge was essentially guys saying that they thought that Rui could potentially be moving to the bench for Dalton. And the way that Rui's been playing to start the season, kind of don't really want to do that because Rui had a real hot start, but he's been cooling off and then he got hurt, right? So right before he got hurt, he started to really wean off. We started seeing single-digit rebounds, single-digit points consistently, and then the injury. And Dalton comes in, we win all these games, he's playing great. So it's like, do we go back to Rui now that Rui's going to be healthy, assuming he's healthy for the Orlando game? Do you go back to Rui in the starting lineup? Rui didn't necessarily lose his spot, but I could argue he was starting to wean off of being hot. So it's like, it's not like he was blazing and then got hurt. No, he was starting to slow down. His production started to be a bit inconsistent, I guess, or whatever the word would be. He started to just really cool off. So for me, there's a few things that got to be considered. One, I don't want to toy with having the defensive two guard. That's what I want people to understand. If I'm moving Dalton into the starting lineup, he's playing the 3. Because as far as I could tell, you can't mess with your power forward and your center position. That's Bron and AD. You're not going to move AD or Bron to the 3 or nothing weird like that. Your point guard position is going to be Austin Reeves or D'Lo Russell. Definitely Austin right now. I don't think D'Lo moves back into the starting lineup. Not as far as I can tell. That's Austin. So the only positions that I'm really feeling comfortable putting Dalton in right now is the 2 or the 3. And I'm very comfortable putting Dalton at the 2. But I have such horrible transition defensive issues that I really need that Cam Reddish, Max Christie, Jared Vanderbilt on the floor with those other 4. I need that. Now, if that 3 is going to be Rui, cool. If for some reason I move Vanderbilt in, he plays the 3, then I can move Dalton to the 2. Cool. If Vando comes off the bench and I want to go Dalton Connect, I need Cam Reddish or Max Christie at the 2 and Dalton at the 3. That's how that has to go for me. I think we have far too many 2-guard defensive issues. We know how it looks when we keep 2 non-defensive players on the floor at that backcourt tandem. It's bad. It's bad for us no matter who it is on our roster because we don't have great two-way scorers at the 2-guard. We don't. We got to understand that Dalton is not that much of a better defender than D'Lo is or Austin is. So if you put him in that starting lineup and you keep Rui at that 3, you got a real bad defensive lineup on the floor, which is going to start to hemorrhage a lot of points early in the game. We're going to get off the slow starts if we don't have hot shooting nights from Dalton Connect. Now, Dalton Connect's offense could offset that. Anthony Davis playing like MVP, Bron. We would have the best offense in the world. But that's never been a problem for this unit. We always have the best offense in the world. The question is can we get a stop? And without Cam Reddish or Max Christie at the 2-guard spot, the answer is hell no, you cannot. And so that's why I'm like, I'm not going to be toying around with that. Max or Cam will be starting if I have anything to say about it. They will be starting. Until Vando gets back and is able to shift into that 3 spot. Then I can move them out the way, bring in Dalton Connect. If I want to go back to D'Lo and Austin, God knows why anybody would do that. But you could do that. But for me, I'm not messing around with that. But the question is, for me, Rui or Dalton. And the next question I guess I have is, okay, what looks better for my bench scoring unit? Because one of the problems that I've had with my bench to start the season is I had all my best scorers in my starting lineup we couldn't defend, and my bench couldn't score worth a damn. We were getting like 5 points from the bench. So if I move Rui to the bench, can I count on having consistent scoring with Rui and D'Lo from my bench that makes it so that that's not a deficiency? If I'm moving my best scorer, Dalton, connecting to the starting lineup, I think that Dalton probably looks better in terms of overall matchups, but I think Rui's a more effective defender in the starting lineup, even though it's not a good matchup for him going up against threes, which is part of the problem. You got size out there, which kind of makes up for it, but it doesn't translate to you rebounding very well. So, like, if Rui's not having a good rebounding night, he's just big for no reason when it comes to that particular thing. Defensive rebound, he's not providing that. His size usually shows up when it's time to bully people on the offensive end, score buckets at the rim, for which he doesn't really do great anyway, to be honest with you. He's not a great inside scoring finisher. He's more of a mid-range three-point shooter. So his size doesn't really cater to his style, which is why Rui's a awkward player just to begin with. He's got all his size, but it doesn't translate to all the things that big guys do. He does finesse things. But he can power through people. And in doing those finesse things, it's like a Carmelo Anthony-like effect where it's hell trying to guard him if you're one of those guys who have to defend this dude. Because he's usually bigger than the person he's guarding him. And he's usually able to create a lot of gravity when he's hot. But is he going to be consistent? See, the problem is when you start asking the question about the offense from the bench, is if he's going to have them single scoring nights, you got offensive problems scoring on your bench again. You're moving Dalton out, you're putting Rui there, and if Rui's not going for more than 12 points, your bench ain't scoring very well. So that's one issue. You find yourself a little smaller, even though Dalton's long, you lose some of that weight that comes with that starting lineup, Bron, AD, Rui. So you're now making yourself a little smaller. I don't know if it matters. But like I said, I think Rui's a more effective defensive player at the three. It's a lesser of two evils conversation. Neither Dalton nor Rui is the answer at the three defensively. But if I'm going to choose between one or the other, it's going to be Rui. Rui's a better defender than Dalton right now. Rui is a better... Rui's offense is closer to Dalton's offense than Dalton's defense is close to Rui's defense, if that makes any sense. I'm going to align with the idea that Rui can meet Dalton's offense more so than Dalton can reach Rui's defense. So that becomes a plus in the Rui situation starting because I just don't like the idea of Dalton's deficiencies next to Austin's deficiencies defensively. It's kind of scary to me unless Dalton's red hot. So, to be honest with you, I don't know that I'm there. The problem is because Rui's not a great not a great fit at the three spot, it's easy for me to talk myself into moving him out of that starting lineup. Problem is, I don't know that pulling Dalton at the small forward position is my best bet at all right now defensively. I don't think so. And moving him at that two guard spot in place of Cam Reddish while keeping Rui down there, that don't look good in my head. You got a bad defensive player in Austin, bad defensive player in Dalton, bad defensive player in Rui potentially, Bron, who may play defense, may not play defense, and of course Anthony Davis. We really have no offensive problems, Lakers. That's what it really comes down to. Offensively, we're one of the best teams in basketball and have been for the last 2 years. Your problem is finding a way to get all these offensive players to play defense. And what has worked for us is moving Cam Reddish into the starting lineup at the two guard spot. It's worked. We ain't lost since we did it. I don't know that I'm toying with that. Especially since, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know that I actually saw the start of the game yesterday. So maybe Dalton started yesterday. See, that's a tea leaf that I need. Did Dalton start and as a result went for 37 points? Or did he come off the bench and do that? Because if he can do that off the bench, then why am I so pressed to start him? You know, y'all know how my attitude is when it comes to the starting lineup. That's not a promotion or a demotion in my mind. It's not. I know the culture of basketball and the way they pay these people and all the all-star stuff has to do with who's starting, who not. And in some cases, it really is a promotion for guys. But that's not really what that equates to for me. If you can get a guy 38 minutes off the bench, he definitely has a better role than the starter. So Dalton's going to get big minutes from me. I would have kept Dalton on the floor for 45 minutes last night, personally. Especially since we don't play again until, is it Friday or Saturday? So for me, I would have played him a lot more yesterday benched or started. He would have. When you that hot, you ain't coming off the floor unless you're in foul trouble or something goes wrong. So for me, it's like I don't have it in my head that if we're starting Dalton, we're giving him some type of promotion, or that we bench Rui, we're giving him some type of demotion. I don't. That's not a real thing in my head. I'm more so interested in the strategy of how we start basketball games and our ability to be cohesive with whatever lineups we're using. So for me, I don't know that I'm ready to start Dalton Knecht. He's more than worthy of starting. Don't get it twisted. He's obviously earned that if that's how you're looking at it. But from a strategic rotational standpoint, I feel like I give myself less of a good chance to have any success in transition defense, for which we're the 30th team in the league. The worst team in all of basketball in transition defense. I think putting Dalton in the starting lineup doesn't help that in any way, especially if you're slapping him next to Rui. That's not going to help you in any way. That's a bad team in transition. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. So right now, I'm comfortable moving Rui out of the starting lineup because I don't think that's a great solution. But I also don't think I have a great alternative at the small forward position based on how our team is constructed. I don't think I have a better option right now. And I know that sounds absolutely insane to a lot of people. But again, Dalton Knecht in a nutshell by himself is definitely ready to start. Next to who you have him next to, as I tried to just illustrate, I don't see it. I don't think it helps you. I think it makes it so that you're very bad defensively in transition, particularly for which we have much improved since moving Cam into the starting lineup. So that's not something I really want to do. You know, I like Rui Hachimura off the bench in most situations. I think he can win Sixth Man of the Year coming off the bench for the right situation. I don't really want him in my starting lineup unless he's playing the 4. And I can't move him to the 4 because I got Bron there. Bron can't play the 3. So it's like Rui don't really fit on this team like we want him to begin with. We're forcing it and we're finding success. And since he's a nice offensive shooter, it creates the gravity that would otherwise be missing with some of the previous roster issues we had in the past. We didn't have as much gravity on the floor until we got Rui. I like Rui. I don't necessarily love him in this situation, if I'm being honest. I just don't. I don't think I need to move him off the team. I just need to move a small forward in, a real one, a real actual small forward. I need a small forward. And that sounds weird because we have other needs that are more pressing, like a potential backup point guard. Although we're finding solutions there, putting Austin at the starting and then having D'Lo come off the bench. That doesn't necessarily look as bad. Now that we are convinced that Austin can be a point guard, I don't think I need a backup point guard as much anymore. So maybe we found a solution in-house with that. But I do think the Lakers need a legitimate small forward. Just somebody who can legitimately be 6'8", 6'9", who can play both sides of the floor, not be a problem in transition, not be too clunky to guard the position. You know what I mean? That is what is a new area of need. Now that we've shaken up the roster in the way that we have, I think we realize we have a new area of need. Because at this point, you can get away with putting Cam at the 3 if you want to. Vanderbilt, you're going to put at the 3. I think he may be the solution. The problem is, and I think a good 99% of Laker Nation has literally forgotten this, and I have not. Vanderbilt is a spacing nightmare because he cannot hit corner shots, so they keep leaving him open. And if he bricks those shots, you end up finding yourself in a very horrible situation where Bron is being crowded out. Austin Reeves has more pressure on him, and we know how he can turn the ball over when pressure's on him. I am so very aware of the offensive deficiencies of Vanderbilt. That's what I want people to understand. Nobody's thinking about this because everybody remembers that the positive things that he does, which are fantastic, and the fact that he's been injured and they can't wait for him to come back. But I remember very, very keenly how frustrating it was watching him continue to brick wide open corner shots and watching the rest of our players get crowded out by defense and the floor getting smaller with him on the floor. It's something that takes away while the other things that he does gives you so much. Do I want him as my starting small forward with this situation? If he's going to have that problem, I don't. And so that's what it is for me. That's why I'm on the trade Vanderbilt machine, on train rather, because I just, when he becomes 100% healthy, assuming that ever happens, let's be on the positive side of his health. Someday down the road, he's 100%. That problem is going to now be something JJ's going to have to figure out. That's the reality of it. Now you're going to want Vanderbilt on the floor for 30 plus minutes, and that's 30 plus minutes of the floor being shrunken by this man. Unless he can hit shots, for which he has proven time and time again he cannot do. When he does hit his shot, you get the best game out of him, you get the best out of everything. But he is not someone who can shoot. If you get, it's almost like Traore in a way. If he hits a shot, cool, but don't be hunting for him to hit threes. You know what I mean? Like, that's Vanderbilt. So for me, it's like, if Vanderbilt can find a way to get his shot to fall at a 35% clip from behind the arc on small sample size, we don't want him shooting it too much, but just to not be a floor shrinker for the rest of the offensive talent, then I have all the confidence in the world that a healthy Vanderbilt is somebody to keep on the floor for 32 to 40 minutes. Because he's going to do great things on the boards. Your offensive rebounding issue goes away. Your transition defense problem immediately goes away. All these positive things that he does. The problem is, now the floor shrinks, and you force guys who are used to having a bit more spacing in the circumstances where there is very little room to maneuver. And we start talking about guys like Max Christie, who don't take the ball off the dribble very well. Dalton Connect, who doesn't dribble very well. Austin Reeves, who has handled but doesn't handle pressure very well. D'Angelo Russell, who tends to get bodied up under pressure. You are creating a problem for yourself in multiple areas just by relying upon that player that does so much on the defensive end of the board. And I know better. I know better. I've already seen it. I don't even need to imagine. I know what it looked like. Vanderbilt, he's a problem. He's not a solution to these issues. He's a problem. You open up one, you close a couple of holes with him, and you open up a big one. And that is, your offense becomes stagnant. So that's something I want people to understand. As I'm assessing my small forward solution, and Vanderbilt doesn't necessarily come to mind, this is because I'm thinking about this particular problem, which was a hellified problem last year when we had Vanderbilt on the floor a good portion of the time. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just not sold. I like Vanderbilt off the bench guarding perimeter players. This is how I like Vanderbilt. When his corner shot is falling, I love him on the floor chasing Maxey, Fox, Anthony Edwards. He's the best on-ball defender of his size, probably in all of basketball. On the perimeter, he has defensive genius. You understand what I'm saying? This is a game-changing defensive player. I've not lost upon Vando's positive stuff. And when you think about going up against a team like Phoenix, who has Ryan Dunn, their own version of Vanderbilt, the new Vanderbilt essentially is who Ryan Dunn's going to be, who can shoot the three, you're going to need a Vanderbilt on the floor to offset that on the other side. I guarantee it. He's valuable. His health stuff, like I said, that's a whole nother concern. I'm not thinking about. I'm assuming he comes back 100% and is able to play from here on out after coming back from his injury whenever that happens. I don't have to work in the concerns about his health. That's obvious. Healthy Vanderbilt provides me concern if he cannot hit shots. That's all I'm saying. In the last game we saw him in before he got hurt, Celtic game, he hit like 3 threes. One of the best games I've ever seen Vanderbilt play. He got hurt before the end of the half. But we were up on the Celtics. We were killing them. He was a big part of the solution. He went down the best game he had probably ever played with the Lakers, ironically enough. So these are things I like. Vanderbilt's a pretty good connective piece when it comes to passing the rock. You know, he can really make assists happen. I think you could take advantage of his playmaking a bit more than people think. So he gives a little bit on the offensive end in that regard. Offensive rebounds, he gives a little bit in that regard. He's an athletic player. He could probably dunk the ball a lot, especially in transition. If he steals the ball, he could finish it on the other end, get to the line. But in a half-court situation, for which we're going to be forced into some of the time, with AD down there, Braun down there, it's going to be some half-court situations. He is a floor shrinker of the worst order. And so that's what it is. I just want to bring people back to the reality of Vanderbilt, because I think what they have in their head does not take into account all that can have already been proven to them in regards to certain things under Darvin Ham, albeit. But I think some of the things that JJ is finding out is that Darvin had discovered some things that didn't work. He just didn't have the answers. But a lot of stuff that he shifted out of righteously. You know what I mean? And that's what I think JJ is starting to find out as he uses this roster. So I think that's going to be another one that he's going to find. He's going to run into the same problem Darvin did there. So I think Knecht could be a solution to that to a degree, because Knecht, as I told you guys in a video I made before the draft, is somebody that's used to defensive schemes being pointed at him. You know, the Volunteers, Tennessee Volunteers, did not have another star on their team. He was the guy that everybody had to scheme in order to stop the Volunteers. They still got well into the NCAA tournament off of Dalton Knecht having the defense pointed at him every game. He was still able to score a lot. Hand in his face, all of that. So in a crowded situation, do I expect Dalton Knecht to be able to get his shot off? Probably better than a lot of people. Because unlike a lot of dudes who were shooters, he was the guy that everybody was trying to stop and couldn't stop. And that's why it was so cool last night seeing him against the Jazz, because you got a taste of that. I thought it was one of the most important highlights of his pre-draft, homework that I did on him, was that this guy can do this when everything is pointed at him defensively. And he's showing that now. That's why I knew we were underutilizing him to start the season, because I'm like, I don't think people really understand who this is. And I've been saying it, now you finally see it. You saw it in the Phoenix game, you saw it last night. Like, hear me when I talk about Dalton Knecht, because I've been talking about him for months and months and months and months. When I said I compared him to Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets, this is what I was talking about. Because Cam Thomas is the kind of guy you give the ball to, and you let him shoot a million times, and he's going to probably walk away with like 40 points. And he can do it every night. Dalton Knecht's like that in that way. You can keep getting him the ball. He can keep shooting like this. This don't have to stop. This, what he's doing, that don't have to stop. He can do that a lot. His shot is pure. You know what I mean? It's really pure, man. And so what people are going to find out is now the league is going to start to shift to, okay, we know we have to guard this guy. And what they're going to find out is what I just described, that he's still going to be able to do this when the defense is pointed at him. And that he has Braun and AD next to him makes it so that the defense can only point at him but so much. He is going to be one of the best shooters in the league under the system if we utilize him properly, which is a strong argument for putting him in the starting lineup. A very strong argument for putting him in the starting lineup. But I still think you can get those rotational sequences consistently throughout the course of a game without punting transition defense in order to do so. We can still have him on the floor with Braun and AD for 25 minutes a night. They don't have to be punting the starting lineup defensively to do so. So, yeah, the NBA is about to have a hard go at trying to stop that man. They're going to have a hard go trying to stop that man. Just like the NCAA did, they're going to have a hard go trying to stop him. So, yeah, put your best defensive on him. Try to put your best defender on him. He's going to have more success than you think. That's what you're going to find out. That's what Dalton's superpower is. Throw the whole defense at him. He's still going to get his shot off. Very, very gifted shooter. Very, very gifted scorer. And now we got to work on his decision-making, his defensive positioning, his open court finishing in terms of fast break situations. These are not strengths of his. But like as I was telling you guys about the things that I thought Dalton wasn't any good at and assessing him, the different things that I said negatively, I always saw him as people discovered him to be last night. Salute the Kobe minute. I always had that in mind. And if you check my old videos, you know that. I've been telling people. When I said, 2 weeks ago, when he had like 18 points or 20 points, I was like, I'm not surprised by that. And I was telling y'all, this is the weapon. This is a weapon where you give him the ball, he can roll out of bed and get 20. I expect him to average 20. I already knew. Man. And so that's what I want people to understand. Dalton Knecht didn't show me nothing that I didn't already know on draft day. This is who I thought he was on draft day. Literally. Not surprised. So that's why it's like, yo, y'all let him fall to us? Cool, thank you. Thanks. New Orleans had an opportunity to take our pick. They decided to tumble it forward to next year because next year is a better draft. Even though if you know what you're doing and if you've been paying attention to this particular draft that we just had, the better 17-16 range is likely in this past draft than the next one. It's just that the next one has better top guys. You see what I'm saying? Better top 5-10 guys. This draft has better top 5-10 guys. I think the draft we just had is probably deeper. So in considering what benefit comes from doing what Pelicans did, you're also hoping that the Lakers have a terrible season. Now, I argued that I thought the Lakers were going to have a bad season. I did. I thought we were going to be in the bottom 12 of the Western Conference. I've been wrong thus far. But what I was assessing has not yet to be proven, which is how healthy can we keep Bron and AD? And can we survive any games without AD? And my argument is I don't expect him to play as many games he did last year. So the jury's still out on what it is I said. I hope I'm wrong. Starting off making me look terrible, and I love it. But what I was equating to when judging what I think our outlook on our season would be still has yet to be revealed in any way. However, based on how things look right now, if we don't have a bad season, the Pelicans should have kept the pick. Even though it ended up being a 17th overall pick, a lot of teams did a lot of different things based on need, and they let Dalton Knecht fall to 17. Now, that wasn't something that you could have foreseen when the Pelicans had an opportunity to do this. So I don't know that the Pelicans made an ill-advised decision punting the pick. But what I can say, if you look closely at both of these drafts, last year and this past draft and the next one, if you expect the Lakers to get, let's say, the 17th overall pick this upcoming season, let's say we have a duplicate of last year, you do think that you probably get a better player in the draft that just passed than potentially what you're about to see right now, if it's the 17th overall pick. And judging by the fact that Dalton Knecht could have went as high as 5 in this draft, they just had bad luck, in my opinion. Because if they would have known Dalton Knecht was going to be available at 17, I don't know that they do that. I don't know that they do that. I don't think so. If they would have known what Dalton was going to look like in an NBA uniform, I don't think so. And if the draft would have started, if they were to do the draft all over again, Dalton Knecht probably goes 3. Maybe even 2 to the Washington Wizards. So that's what I really think. I just don't think a lot of people saw what Dalton's ultimately proving he can do. Same thing with McCain. I just don't think people really saw it. But here we are, man. Here we are. We the ones that benefit from that. They can have next year's pick. We're probably going to have a better year anyway. If things continue the way they are, that pick ain't going to be no good. So the decisions we make, ladies and gentlemen, the decisions we make. I'm glad the Lakers were wise enough to take the falling knife, Dalton Knecht, in the draft. They sure as hell weren't smart enough to take the falling knife last year, Cam Whitmore. Imagine if we would have took them both. Anyway, so, I mean, I'm thrilled, man. This is exactly what we signed up for. We signed up for the best shooter, as I told you guys when we drafted him. Probably the best shooter we've ever drafted. Period. I said that on draft day. I said that several days after the draft. I said it leading up to this, all of this. I told you that's probably the best shooter we've ever drafted. So I don't know, man. Maybe one day people start listening to me for real, bro. Because a lot of stuff that people are just catching on to is stuff I've been saying for months. I said this before the draft. I was doing homework on Dalton Knecht probably a month and a half before the draft and made a video telling you all about him. I even labeled his name. on the video. Y'all can go back there if you want to go back in the archives. I was talking about Dalton Connect walking past that loud ass car wash that I always do these videos of walking past. I'm telling you, this dude he's a lethal shooter of the highest order, bro. Like the highest, best shooter in the draft, easily the best shooter in this draft. And so, yeah, man, that's why I've been upset with how we've been utilizing him to start the season. I'm like, yo, you're treating him like he's some type of role guy. Like, nah, fam, that's not. This is who Dalton is. Who you saw last night, that's who he is. And imagine letting a guy like that just sitting on your bench, maybe get 5 shots up, put him in the game, garbage time. Like, man, what are you kidding me? Yeah, hell no. So I'm glad he was able to do this early enough in the season so we can get away from utilizing him that way. Because we were really, really punting basketball games with our bench scoring only 5 points and him not getting but like 3 shots up. This is craziness, bro. Craziness. And now we know exactly how crazy it is. Although I could argue the Phoenix preseason game should have showed you that any damn way. I don't know. So yeah, man, I'm very happy we have Dalton Connect. But as far as me being surprised like most of these talking heads, hell nah, bro. I knew this already. I know what we got. I know exactly what we got there. And let this same voice tell you, Quincy Olivari is another one. Allow me to be the one to tell you that Quincy Olivari is probably your second best bench player on the team behind Dalton Connect. Yeah, he is. I'm not going to be surprised when he goes off for his big game. If you remember correctly, he had a big game before Dalton's big game in the preseason. That's why we know who his name is. So it's like, all this stuff the Laker organization is doing, farting around with some of these weak players that they're using over and over again, none of this crap is real, bro. Dalton Connect and Quincy Olivari are so very capable of coming in and immediately being your best players not named Bron AD, basically. That's the God's honest truth. And Austin Reeves. Those are the best players on your team. I told people that Dalton Connect's talent was going to rise him past people rather quickly. You're seeing it. I said he's better than Rue. He's better than Cam Reddish. He's better than Max Christie. He's better than these people. You're seeing it. Quincy is too. Quincy's better than those people too. So that's what I'm here to tell y'all, man. Like, and the league is making this mistake not only on our team, but all over the league, bro. All over the league, you got guys that are better than people, playing behind people, while teams still believe in old names. Guys that had decent upside, maybe reached their potential, and now are starting to become names that people rely upon because they know who they are. And all that stuff is trash, bro. I'm telling you, the better players are a lot of times the young guys that are just fresh out of college, fresh out of high school, bro. They're better. They're better than these people, bro. And I don't mind the age limit on the draft. I do think it protects guys from making bad decisions, although the G League can kind of help guide people if they start off the wrong way. But, like, you got some guys that are ready to play in the NBA right now in college. Cooper Flagg should have been in the NBA 2 years ago. He was ready to play in the NBA 2 years ago, bro. He's better than most of these people out here, bro. I could argue that if Cooper Flagg would have came into the league last year, he'd be an all-star this year, right now. I already know this. Done homework on him. I know exactly what he can do. He's ready. Been ready. Ace Bailey, I could argue, yeah. He's one of the best mid-range shooters in basketball. Not in the NBA. He will be when he gets here. These guys are ready, bro. They don't need to wait. They don't need to play 1 year in college. Stop. The NCAA is a very, very lucrative partner for the NBA. It's a very lucrative partner for other basketball leagues all over the world. I'm sure they want to see the NCAA succeed. But letting guys do a pit stop in the NCAA eats away at their historical potential, man. Because a lot of these dudes could start their reign on the league earlier than they're being asked to, based on the need to let people play in the NCAA for a year or two. I think college is necessary for a lot of guys who are projects, immature guys who don't have the greatest character, guys who need to learn something in school and genuinely want to do something after basketball. All of that could be really good. The college experience holds a lot of weight. But making guys that are pros wait is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Cooper Flagg should have been in the NBA 2 years ago, bro. It's crazy to me. You know what I mean? So that's what's on my mind right now. Dalton is benefit from 5 years of college. He needed the 5 years. He's a rookie ready to go right now, but I don't think he was nowhere near ready to go when he was 20 years old. So, like I said, it holds a lot of weight. It holds a lot of weight. But for some guys, it's like, nah, they need to be in the NBA, bro. This is an all-star season. You're making these guys run around at Duke. Duke Cooper Flag would be all-star this year if you would run around at Duke. He'd be the rookie of the year possibly if you wouldn't run around at Duke. Like, I don't know, man. I just think I think guys above these players are doing things for their interest, their business interests. A lot of stuff that you see is based on business interests. It don't have nothing to do with who better and who's, you know what I mean? You get these guys on basketball courts all over the world, and they would rise above talent that's running around the league in a lot of cases, bro. You put them, but because they're under the umbrella of NCAA, NBA, G League, the people above them have a right to put them in places and contractual obligations to players that already existing make it so that you can't necessarily play this guy yet. You got to play behind this guy because you got to pay his dues. All that stuff that's older people problems. People who are in suits, you know what I mean? And behind desk, they're making these decisions for these people. That's not the basketball players on the court know who better. They know. And people like me, talking heads, are going to normalize conversations that express the reality that we know too. So, like, for me, if Quincy Olivardi was getting 25 minutes a game, 30 minutes a game in the big leagues, he'd be one of the top rookies in the whole league. He would prove himself to be in the top 10 rookie rankings. That's exactly what I think of Quincy Olivardi. While we're bull crapping around with him in the G League, he would be one of the better rookies in this whole thing. So that's really what it is, man. That's what I gotta say, man. I just wish the suits would get out of the way and let the talent speak for itself. I say the same thing in other industries as well, music and all that. All these gimmicks, all these contracts, all these big wigs that don't have an ear nor a sight for the game, making decisions for what's good and what's not, and then people are taking from the data that comes from that, thinking that things are constant based on how people are perceiving the product that's thrown at them. If the product were better, it would be prioritized differently. That's been my argument. It's going to stay my argument. Give us better, we'll prioritize it better. So that's it. That's what I got to say about that. Anyway, now we go forward. If there's anything that I want the Laker fans to understand, is that we're going up against an Orlando Magic team that's been on a 6-game winning streak. They are as hot as we are. They've been beating the hell out of people without Banchero. Banchero is out for a couple weeks. We will not see him on Friday. But Anthony Black is starting to show that he's really a dude, man. One of the best on-ball defenders in basketball. One of the biggest point guards in basketball. Very capable rebounder, excellent playmaker. He's finally getting the minutes necessary to show that he's better than the people he's behind. Theme here? So yeah, you're dealing with a surging Anthony Black. That means pressure defensively on whoever the hell he's guarding. Massive pressure. We need to be aware of this. We need to know this now. They have a very good defensive team in Orlando. Our offense is going to have some hiccups going up against this bunch if they're playing the way they're supposed to play. Jonathan Isaac, I think, is healthy. Batazde, shot blockers. Jalen Suggs, two-way guy, playing well. He's healthy right now. Franz Wagner, 35-point scorer, slashing at the rim, 7-foot guy. Offensive rebounds consistently. Anthony Black is about 6'8", 240 pounds, 230 pounds. It's a big person who's really fast around the perimeter. They're constructed in a very, very positive way, even without Paolo Banchero, man. They got depth. They got shooters. They got wing defenders. Tristan Da Silva, another wing defender. Gary Harris, another known defender. This is a defensive bunch who is finding ways to win games in the Easy East, playing defense and rebounding the basketball. They are winning doing this. We have got to be absolutely aware that this could potentially be the best team we've seen since Cleveland. This is a good team, and they're really hot right now. So, if ever there was a game I'm really worried about, it's this one. It's this one. And I do not want the Lakers black jerseys and black floor to be synonymous with losing. Sort of like the orange Knicks jerseys from like 6 years ago. If anybody remember that, when the Knicks used to put those uniforms on, they lose every game. I do not want our black uniforms and black floor to have that synonymous problem. So that is what I'm saying to you guys. We got this Orlando team coming in. Paolo's not playing. I do not want people to think, oh, it's the Magic. If you're hearing me, you know better. You're going to be ready for Anthony Black. You're going to be ready for Bataz Day. You're going to be ready for Suggs. You're going to be ready for Franz Wagner. I'm telling y'all now, do not take this team lightly. That's pretty much what I'm saying there. So we'll talk more about that. I've yet to do homework on them. But this is my understanding just based on what I've been looking at from afar. Orlando's on a hot streak, and they got players breaking out, and those players are good. Really good. So that's what I want people to understand, man. This ain't a joke. If we're going to be the Lakers that we want to be, we can't just beat the teams that we're supposed to beat up on, which is what we've been doing for the last 6 games. We got to beat these teams that are coming in next. Orlando, Phoenix, Denver. Be ready. Because if we're not ready, we're gonna go on a 4-game losing streak. That's the concern, man. So I want people to understand that. We respect our opponent no matter who we're going against. No matter what the circumstance, purple and gold first at all times. And at the end of the day, if we take care of business, we found with the talent that we picked up in this draft, coupled with the superstars that we have in place, we could be one of the best teams in the Western Conference. We just got to find a way to stay healthy, man. So that's really what I got to say, man. I hope everybody's enjoying their day. And I appreciate everybody for rocking with BDF 44. I'm out.